So just a little bit about myself. I came from a data science background, trying to bring that to Splunk. And we are a very data-focused company. And in my free time, I enjoy attempting to fly fish. So if you want, take a break from the tech talk about fly fishing, love to talk about it. But today we're focusing on VMware vSphere monitoring in Splunk and how we can help you become more productive in your environments in your day-to-day lives. So with that, to everybody's favorite slide, or maybe making some forward-looking statements, but I don't think we will be in this. Not gonna lie, IT monitoring is challenging. It's tough. There are disparate data sources in disparate environments. I'm switching from one tool to another tool. I'm monitoring with this tool, I'm alerting with this tool, I'm troubleshooting with this tool. It's hard to have a single pane of glass when everything is so disparate. So I'm sure you've been asking yourselves, why am I monitoring with one tool and troubleshooting with another? Why am I always context switching? Why are your teams, using one tool for VMware, using another tool for your logs? With that, we talk to our customers, we talk to you, and these are some of the big four issues we've identified. I may have lack of visibility into a service degradation. It's tough. I have downtime on my VM, and I don't know why. One team knows why, another team may not know why. I'm really slow to react to outages, causing teams and people using too many tools that don't connect or integrate with each other. That's a problem we're trying to help you solve. And when teams and tools use too many, sorry about that. And teams and people are using too many tools, it's hard to connect. You then waste too much time trying to figure out where and why the outage occurs rather than really driving value in your company and really driving value to, start preventing outages and, leading to difficulty gathering accurate data across your cells. I have different data pools. My data doesn't talk to each other. My data doesn't correlate. There's finger pointing. We're trying to go for no more data disagreements so you and your teams can work more efficiently and more productively. With that, I'd like to take you down a little walk of memory lane. So IT and virtualization monitoring with Splunk, and the history of where we've started and how we've helped evolve with you and with your companies and with your IT environments. So, our journey starts in 2012 with the release of the Splunk app for VMware. I'm sure many of you know it. Some of you still have it, and that's great. It was a great solution at the time. It was a premium solution that helped you, for monitoring, your capacity planning, just a little bit of everything for VMware. But it was by itself. It was hard to correlate your data in the VMware app with the rest of your environment. I want to know what happens in my VMware and how it affects my server monitoring, how it affects my process monitoring, and how it affects my bottom line, my business revenue. So with that, we introduced the virtualization module for ITSI. Very well received. It allowed me to correlate my virtualization infrastructure to my technical services, to my business services, to my applications. And at the time, people loved it. But, we talked to you and, frankly, you wanted more. You wanted to be able to see what exact metric caused my downtime, what exact metric caused my outage. And this gave me the big picture, but it didn't tell me the little things to, make me smarter and make me more productive. So while ITSI is going strongly ahead, we introduced the Splunk app for infrastructure, a comprehensive infrastructure monitoring tool with an entity-centric first approach. It focused on monitoring and troubleshooting, and monitoring and troubleshooting fast. It took minutes from ingest to insight, allowing me to see what went wrong and what went wrong quickly. So with that, it made, next logical step was, can I do this with more data sources? Can I do this with my OS, with my cloud, with my containers? And can I do this with the VMware vSphere? And that's what we're announcing today. is that with our 2.0 release, we now have VMware vSphere support in the Splunk app for infrastructure. So no more going to different tools and different sets. I can look at my metrics and my logs of my VMs, hosts, clusters, vCenters, and even data stores in the context of my cloud environment, in the context of my hybrid environment, my containers, and even drill down to the individual process running on a VM. I can get all of that in a single pane of glass. So we launched yesterday, and just a little overview of what SAI is. Some may have heard of it, some of you may have not have heard of it. But as I said, we're focused on fast time to value. For our server monitoring, we focus on using collect-D for a metrics first monitoring approach. We have detailed and flexible analysis. It's tough aggregating and analyzing your metrics and your logs together. We let you do that easily in our analysis workspace, which we'll show later. We also have full Splunk Cloud support. If I want to monitor my virtualization, the rest of my environment on Splunk Cloud, we let you do that. I also have integrations with ITSI. While the virtualization module is still around, I can now integrate my metrics data from my VMware into my ITSI environment, letting me troubleshoot fast and letting me set alerts into my event analytics and get service context so I can see if I have downtime on my VMs, downtime on my hosts, how does it impact my bottom line? And if I have uptime, how much money am I helping save? And I can group my OS and VMs together for faster troubleshooting. I can use metadata in the Splunk app for infrastructure to logically group my entities together. I can group hosts with relevant VMs. I can do split buys based on different data sources, delivering faster time to value. So let's talk about what's new. Sort of what we've been talking about is delivering value and delivering value quickly. I now have complete visibility across my entire infrastructure stack. I can start up at a vCenter, get a vCenter alert, or get a syslog alert. I can drill down into the exact process or the data store that may have caused my outage. I can then go through create alerts and troubleshoot those alerts in a single pane of glass, simplifying my tool set and now allowing me to reduce context switching. Even context switching within Splunk, I'm sure many of you don't like to go to different apps in Splunk. I want one app that helps me do many different things, which then allows me to find and fix my problems fast. I get an alert, I know where to go troubleshoot the alert, and I know the next best steps. Remedy my situation. I can go see the process that may have caused my VM to go down, go in and see that PID, go kill that PID. Very easy to go do. Which allows us to have better collaboration and insight across our teams. I can have many teams using the Splunk app for infrastructure and many more teams using ITSI. I can promote my entities into ITSI and I can get complete visibility across many of my different teams. So no more data hoarding. Let's go on a little journey from investigate and how we can investigate to then monitor, analyze, and eventually act in the Splunk app for infrastructure and my greater Splunk. So our journey begins in investigate, and we can speed up our investigations. I can onboard my data quickly, and once I onboard, we do the aggregation for you. We do the tough work. We pull metadata out of the box to let you easily group your VMs, hosts, clusters, and vCenters. So all I have to do is go click on a dimension, and I see all the entities that have that. I can create a group, and that group dynamically updates as my infrastructure changes. I don't have to continually re-upload. I don't have to make new groups. I just set what dimensions I want to analyze and what groups I want to have, and SAI does the rest of the work. With that, we make it easier to monitor. We have out-of-the-box visualizations. No more painstakingly creating dashboards. We help you do that easily and do it quickly with a little to no SPL approach. SPL is great, and it's great for really deep analysis, but sometimes I want to get things fast. And you want to see, insight in minutes. So we're simplifying the tool set by monitoring with one solution, and I can bring that solution into ITSI to help with my greater monitoring portfolio. I can onboard, group, threshold, and alert in a single experience. And I get pre-built visualizations. I can click so we can go from summary, CPU, disk, memory, and I get a snapshot to see what's wrong, what my entity is, and what's happening in my environment to then help me analyze and see what's happening. Now I know what happened. Now I need to investigate why it happened so I can prevent the outage and prevent future outages. So I can drill down to relevant entities with a minimal number of clicks. Going from investigate to analysis in about 3 or 4 clicks, it's pretty easy to do. I can use my time series data to granularly analyze what happened and what happened. Sorry about that. What happened and why it happened. I can do relevant split buys. I can group hosts together. As you can see, I'm splitting my CPU by 5 VMs without having to do any SPL. I just simply click a group, create the group, and then I can do split buys based on the metadata I bring into that group, allowing me to conduct better root cause outages and allowing me to then help prevent future outages by acting with my data. Now that I've prevented an outage, prevented an outage for the first time, I want to prevent that outage from happening again. I want to fine-tune what's happening in my environment and improve my overall IT operations. We have out-of-the-box integrations with VictorOps, but not just VictorOps. We have introduced out-of-the-box integrations with Slack, custom webhooks, and I think we can also run scripts, so if I get a specific alert, I can ping it to a specific Slack group. We also have integrations with ITSI. I can get alerts from my VMware environment and send them into Event Analytics, allowing me to easily aggregate, and allowing a greater range of actions that I can take on my data. So you may be asking yourself, how do I start using the Splunk app for infrastructure? So I can download the Splunk app for infrastructure today. Splunk app for infrastructure 2.0. There's the Splunk base link. And this is a free app that comes with your existing Splunk license. It's free for your Unix and Linux monitoring with process monitoring we just announced yesterday. My Windows, Mac OS X, Kubernetes, Docker, and our integration with our AWS TA. But VMware was a premium app. It'll still continue to be a premium app, but now we're introducing SAI with ITSI, a feature flagged license that allows me to, if I have an ITSI license and an enterprise license, I can get VMware vSphere and SAI and access to our new multi-cloud beta. Unfortunately, the multi-cloud beta talk is happening at the same time, but please stop by our booth. We have demos from multi-cloud as well, and the multi-cloud PM will also be there if you have additional questions. And for our multi-cloud demo, we're starting with AWS and Azure, allowing me to expand into more of my infrastructure and really target analyzing my hybrid environment that most of us are going to. So with that, you may be asking yourself, I've heard of SAI, I know Splunk, I know VMware, maybe I haven't heard of ITSI. And what is ITSI? ITSI is one of our premium solutions. It allows you to start predicting, stop reacting, and start predicting with Splunk IT Service Intelligence. Go from reacting to your VMware outages to predicting what's going to happen next and how can I help in my environment. I'm not going to lie, this is a pretty busy slide. So please feel free to stop by the ITSI booth, and as well, I have, at the end of the talk, there's a list of other talks. Some of them are for ITSI. Please go stop by those talks. They'll greatly help you understand what is ITSI and how it can help you. But the big takeaways are, it's a trusted AIOps platform. It helps me predict and prevent, and I have insights from event management to AIOps. So you may be asking yourself, what if I only have the VMware app? Well, if you only have the VMware app currently, please reach out to your rep. We'll be announcing more coming later. But we will, please reach, sorry to repeat myself, but just please reach out to your sales rep, and we'll be releasing stuff in the next few weeks about what to do. So you may be asking yourself, I've gone through this whole talk. What do I really need to know? There's 3 big things: technical, licensing, and sales. You may have the VMware app, you may be using the virtualization module with ITSI. That's great. We still want you to keep using them, but we are putting together a plan to have you easily migrate from your existing use cases to the metrics-first approach we have announced today. Licensing. I have a VMware app, you have ES, Core, all these other licenses. I want to stop managing my licenses and start delivering value. We make it easy with one license that unlocks more features. So no more having your VMware app license. I have an ITSI license that unlocks the power of VMware monitoring for me. Sales, now I only have to buy one product. I buy ITSI and I get the power of infrastructure monitoring and infrastructure monitoring use cases with it. So with that, let's do a quick demo to show what's happening with the Splunk app for infrastructure for VMware monitoring. Play this video. So we start on the home screen, and we click into the Splunk app for infrastructure, and currently we don't have any entities. So I go over to my add data page, go down to VMware vSphere, and I get a new, easy way to add data, and through the power of editing, you don't have to watch me type everything, because that's always a little painful. And as you can see, we have collect data from all hosts. I can black and white list certain hosts to bring in, and now I can even bulk upload. I can version it out, and I can manage my vSphere environments and bring them into Splunk through CSVs. Now we're messing around with the UI all the time. And with that, now I add my DCN. We're still using the same architecture to bring data in as the VMware app, but we've changed it so it's a metrics-first approach. I go in, save. I can also version that out through CSV as well. Next, we can come back, and I've added a little more data in as well. And now you can see we have around 200 entities here. And the first one you may notice is an entity type NICs. And the rest of these are, I believe, VMware hosts. So you can see we bring in a bunch of disparate data sources and allow you to easily correlate them in a single view. So I'm just going to show entity type here. So you can see we have our Windows, our Kubernetes, our NICs. So if you have a Kubernetes sitting on top of an OS, sitting on top of a VM, that's something you can now look at, and look at it easily. All right, I'm going to be honest, I don't know why I scrolled up and down that long, but now let's jump into a host. So you can see they're all out-of-the-box visualizations coming in, and I can look at my related entities and how they relate to one another. So since we're looking at a host, I can see the VMs in my host and the vSphere and cluster it's in. And by clicking on the entity, I can open up a second tab with the entity and its out-of-the-box visualizations. And all these tabs on the left side are more in-depth metrics that I can get out of the box and add a snapshot. So we have no events coming in, but we can take a look at our metrics. So let's take a look at our CPU here and our data store. So let's take a look at data store read, and let's take a look at our CPU. But you may be asking yourself, I don't want to open 3 different tabs to look at related CPU. Now I can use our workspace analysis to look at multi-metric values across, so I can look at my CPU demand, total capacity, and reserved capacity in a single pane of glass. And what if I want to compare my CPU to my data store? I can do that. And you can also create alerts and send these alerts into your custom Slack, webhook, after specifying a threshold and what you want to do, allowing you to fine-tune alerting for your environment. So email, VictorOps, Slack, custom webhooks. And with that, let's go back to the investigate. You may not want to analyze one thing at a time, one entity at a time. You may want to say, I want to group my entities together, and I want to get insights faster and across my various entities. So looked at data store, but maybe that's not the right group to start with. I can then go click on my metadata as dimensions we bring in and look at my vCenter, and this is mobile-vCenter, and I can save that as a group. And now I click view group now. As it loads, I see vSphere, and I see all of the relevant metrics in my vSphere. as well as events, so I can correlate my logs to my metrics in a single view. No more going from a metrics dashboard to a logs dashboard. And let's say I want to split by all the VMs in my environment to see what went wrong. So by structuring out our metric data, we make it easy for you to figure out what's happening and why it happened. And after I figure out I have a metric spike, I can investigate the log data that correlated to that. And with that, that's the end of the demo. Let me switch back to my laptop. Well, it looks like the additional session slide did not get copied over. Sorry about that. But please find me after, and I'd be happy to talk about the additional sessions we're doing. And I'd now like to invite Nick Tankersley up. He's our product lead for SAI. He's the one who started a few years ago.
Let's hear it for Ian, right? First time presenter, it's a big crowd. Very nice job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I grab a mic? I can talk really loud anyway, so it doesn't matter. So any questions anybody has?
I have a question. So, how do you compare yours with the VROP? Why do I use yours?
Yeah, okay. So I'll go ahead and give that a question. So VR Ops, while it does give you a really great profiling of all the VMware infrastructure, right? It gives you great detail. What Splunk does is it brings all of the data that you have outside of VMware, or even within your VMware infrastructure that VRF doesn't have access to, log data, configuration data, metadata from other processes, other things running, and puts it all together in one place. So whereas VR Ops does a great job of going deep on VMware, this places your VMware infrastructure in context of your larger IT operational view. Does that make sense? So the reason why we added the VMware data to Splunk initially was because we had a lot of teams that were troubleshooting applications in one place, they were troubleshooting network in another place, and then they were looking at VMware data in another place. And so we're bringing it all together into one specific place. Additionally, we give you access to the underlying data so that you can use it to build whatever dashboards, views, actions that you need in order to provide deeper insight than you're going to get with almost any other tool on the market.
Yep. I can't, sorry, I can't hear you. Yeah, so the way the data collection works is it pulls data, configuration data, metadata, event data from the vCenter. So the setup process that Ian showed walks through setting up what is called a data collection node. It's basically a Splunk forwarder that pulls that data as well as the vCenter credentials. As far as log forwarding goes, it's all basically syslog out into Splunk. Yeah. Right.
Is SAI included in the ITSI license?
It is. It is included, and it actually is now bundled with ITSI 4.4 and I think a few other releases, or a few of our earlier releases. So if you download ITSI, SAI is automatically downloaded.
I don't know if I'm really allowed to answer that one right now, or if I'm the right person to ask. So the acquisition is definitely being led by our Vice President of Product for IT Markets, Kia Benia. He talked a little bit about it. So for us in SAI and IT, we are ITSI. Our strategy is really to provide a centralized view across multiple teams, multiple infrastructure, multiple different types of data and data sources. Whereas SignalFX right now is very heavily focused on application delivery through cloud and container native environments. Of course, underlying infrastructure is a major part of that, so our overlaps are heavily right there, but I would see us as being much more invested in, say, the on-prem data center driven data collection methods. So the vCenter approach we're taking here is a wealth of data. I mean, we're only scratched the surface, whereas the SignalFX VMware integrations, I think, are much more going to be host and guest level metrics right now. Yeah.
Right.
Is this available on older versions of Splunk or how far back? And
It is.
The question is, do you require DB Connect to pull in all that vCenter data, or can you do that natively?
So for question number one, it is ITSI 4.4 and SI 2.0 are available with Splunk versions 7.2, 7.3, and 8.0. As for the second part, you do not need DB Connect. This is all through the VMware TA bundled with ITSI now. So no need for DB Connect to pull all that vCenter data. We can pull it all through the VMware vSphere API. Back.
So the old advice was to grab an OVA to do all this collection, including log collection and what you're doing there. Was that still the advice, or is that being done from the SAI searches?
Yeah, so still same methodology, right? What we updated was the backend, so we pulled data from the performance counters within VMware. It's converted into metrics, and we correlate all of the metadata together before it's sent to Splunk. So with the current VMware app, we pull configuration data, metadata, performance data, we put it together, and then we build lookups on a continual basis. This is all done before it hits the index, so all the data is natively a part of the metrics payments. But it's the same thing. It's still a heavy forwarder, a data collection node. It can be deployed with the OVA. You can build one yourself as well based on your specs. And then as a scheduler, that scheduler can run on the same search as SAI, and that can be, that's the way you communicate with your DCNs. Yep.
All right, any other questions? All right.
I was looking at the demo and I kind of saw some of the tools and stuff that were in there. My leadership likes nicely single pane of glass, I/O, performance, storage. Like, one of the things I'm saying is I need to get a VMware license. So that's one thing. I need to have the latest updated Splunk. So it seems like there's a few different components to get it right. What is the ultimate sell for my leadership? Why do we need this thing? Why is it the greatest thing since individuals that's right?
Well, slice bread is only 100 years old, so there's better things. The big thing is bringing to leadership or bringing to your team the idea that you can start deprecating all of the different various tools that you have that are required to get insight into all these individual stacks, right? And additionally, what we have done is we focused heavily on out-of-the-box ease of use for people who are not Splunk experts. So as we talk about a centralized data platform, one of the major friction points there is the ease of use for people who are not experts on the platform. So this is a no expertise required approach to doing deep data analysis and monitoring in VMware environments. There was a question about VROps earlier. When we speak to customers, typically only the VROps admin does things in VROps. With Splunk, and even in our own internal environments, we've brought VMware admins and sysadmins back into Splunk to use this application in order to troubleshoot and monitor their environments. As far as licensing goes, ITSI will be the license that you need in order to move forward. But that also puts you in a position where you can leverage ITSI to go beyond infrastructure level visibility and build out a true service view of how IT is benefiting your business as well as your customers.
Yeah, I'm still learning about ITSI.
Yeah.
I think the limitation isn't my storage administrator. It's more, well, actually, no, that is a limitation. Because the business people want to see a nice, pretty graphic.
Yeah, so ITSI is really where that begins to bubble up for the VP level sort of view, right? The glass table views, KPIs that are designated off of the data that we get out of VMware. So it's like anything, you go to the doctor, you have a lot of different things that measure you as a person, right? But typically they check your pulse, they check your heart rate, they check cholesterol level, right? So those are basically the analogy for a KPI in ITSI. So while we do a bulk collection of data, we have all the metrics, all the things that we use to measure whether or not a VM is up and running and active and doing the right things. Within ITSI, you can pick a handful of those as a subset and promote those to the things that you want to measure on an ongoing basis to understand the true health of your environment. And then you can tie that to application, service delivery, as well as financial results within ITSI. Yeah. I think we have right here.
Yeah. So we have enterprise license and ITSI license, and we were just standing up VMware. We were looking at the VMware app. And are we looking at no longer doing that? Is that being deprecated? And this is the correct path to go forward?
Yeah, I'd say if you have an ITSI license and you are looking at the VMware app, just go get this. This is the way to go.
All right.
The VMware app will stay around. We have current users. If you're on a pre-7.0, the VMware app is the only way you're going to get this level of insight into VMware within Splunk. But moving forward, the SAI ITSI combo is where a majority of our investment is going from an IT operations and visibility perspective. And of course, there's Signal FX, and we've talked a little bit about that, but more will come out about that as our companies come together.
Right there.
Then we'll go over here next. Here first?
Yeah.
What's version
Version what? 18?
Sorry, the next version is small.
Version 8?
Version 8.
Yeah, it's up now.
Version 8 came out to, I think yesterday.
Yeah, it's available now. Yeah, version 8 is the first version with Python 3. 2.7 is still the default, but just know that the Python 3 migration is happening, so it's a good time to get ahead of that.
And the TA and SAR are both Python 2.7 and 3.7 compatible.
So 7.2 all the way up to 8 is what we support.
Just for clarification, is ITSA requires promoting SAI?
So as Ian mentioned on that slide a couple of slides ago, if you could find that, that'd be helpful. There is a majority of use cases within SAI that do not require an ITSI license. For some of the new advanced premium features that we're building in SAI, ITSI license will be required. So collection of host-level metrics and host monitoring, container monitoring, Kubernetes and our OpenShift support, as well as early AWS monitoring, that's all available currently with SAI, no additional cost to you outside of the license that you use for Splunk. The VMware and some of the new multi-cloud beta features that we're working on are only available if you have an ITSI license.
Yep.
A little bit of feedback off of that. So without ITSI, there is no VMware app by itself. You have to have ITSI.
So there's no VMware app, but the old TA is still around. So if you want to set up the event TA, and there's a UI in there, so you can bring the data in to start with, but there's no out-of-the-box visualizations or app to go along with it. But you can still get the data in.
Over the next horizon, we'll say year, right? The focus will be primarily on this new metrics-based way of data collection. For one thing, it is significantly more scalable from a user experience perspective than Splunk. Things are drag and drop and point and click. We can render metrics across hundreds of VMs across 30 days in less than 5 seconds versus what it would take right now on a dashboard, which is significant. Additionally, it's a much lower impact on your vCenter. So the current methodology for polling the APIs, we've reduced the amount of data we collect. We're much more controlled in the data that we actually do collect. So there's a lot less concern around the data polling off the vCenter itself. Because I've never met anybody that had a properly proficient vCenter. We always want to make sure that we're not really hurting that part of the process.
Can you speak a little bit more about the migration from the app VMware to this new model? For example, if I have a VCM, and then I have the add-on, the VMware installed and like on my event server. Do I use that same add-on, or is it a separate add-on?
So there's a new TA that's bundled with ITSI, but we're releasing doc pages on. There's upgrade scripts to upgrade the DCNs, as well as new OVAs for those DCNs. So I can either decide to install a new OVA for my DCN, or go through and use our upgrade script, which will be in our documentation, as well as and you mentioned the add-on. I will get back to you on whether there's an upgrade script for the add-on as well to get to the new metric version. But you can always download the new metric version.
Okay, so then I guess if I would essentially have to pay that.
Yeah, the code base is like 80% the same, right? So the DCN needs an update because we are doing something different with the data. The add-ons for like ESXi logs and vCenter logs, those are more or less the same as well. And the upgrade from the current package, as Ian mentioned for the DCN, there are scripts to upgrade that, but the other TA should be a drop-in, just like a natural TA upgrade.
Yeah.
Right. There are no net new TA components. They are upgrades of the current stack.
So after we do that upgrade, does it change the data on the back end as far as which indexes it's going into? So if we have a lot of solutions built on the data today, will we have to change it or upgrade?
Yep. So we've moved the metrics data into, I think it's VMware-perf-metrics for a new metrics index, since it's, metrics indexes are different than event indexes and how we store them.
But will you still bring in the raw performance data?
We do, but we bring it in as metrics now, so it's a lot more performant.
Populate to VMware, whatever.
Yeah, so VMware, it's a pretty hard cutover from events to metrics. Right? There is a way to go back and write searches and build, basically build outputs to take all the old data and convert it over to metrics so you have a historical line. But as we work with a lot of customers, we've gone through that process, and typically the decision is to say, okay, this is the day we're cutting over to metrics, right? And this is all the historical data, and it will still be there, so your existing application will still run there for that historical data, but there will be a point when they cut over. I usually recommend setting up one vCenter as a test vCenter, start pulling all that data in, usually something in your dev environment, to kind of see where that's how it's going to move over. But I think the impact that you'll see on the UI and in your actual end user experience is well worth that sort of initial couple of days where the data drifts into a different index. Yeah. There's also some really cool stuff in 8.0 that we'll leverage in the future around multi-metric storage. So that will have significant impact on your ingest as well as the overall storage and compression of metrics. So right now, every single metric measurement is a single event. But as of 8.0, the platform supports multi-metric events. So you can imagine that in some cases, you'll have a 10x reduction in the actual number of events you collect, which will have significant impact on the amount of data you store, its overall storage. Speed-wise on the front end, it's comparable. It's the exact same. Yeah. So metrics are a major part of Splunk strategy going forward. I just want to make that very clear to the entire audience that as we move forward into the monitoring space, into the active alerting and real-time monitoring space, metrics are at the forefront of that. It doesn't mean events aren't there. Config events, vMotions, EXXI logs, all that's still there. But things that should be metrics will, going forward, become metrics.
All right, any other questions? All right, I'd just like to say thank you for attending, and I hope you have a great rest of your conf.